Okay, we're in the sugya of kinyanim. We described the kinyan agav, and then we got into the gilgul shvua. We said, ironically, the kinyan agav, it's the karka that makes the kinyan on the metaltalin versus by gilgul shvua, it's the metaltalin that goes ahead that you could swear on, that goes ahead and incorporates what the karka. So it's ironically it's the opposite. So we're continuing that sugi. We saw the source yesterday for kinyan agav, for gilgul shvua was saita. By saita, we're megalgal what even though he's giving her to drink when she is a nesua, would be megalgal if she was with another man when she was an arusa. That was the that was the kinyan of that was the din of gilgul shvua. So now the Gemara, we're on the bottom of Chav Zayin Amid Beis, right? Chav Zayin Amid Beis. Ashken Saita, 2 lines from the bottom. Ashken Saita the Isura. We find Gilgul Shvua by Saita, which is the din of Issa V'Heter. Then Moinami know, and how do we know it, when it comes to monetary matters? How do we know there's the din of Gilgul Shvua? Now there are 3 Shvuas Midaraisa. There's the Shvuas Hashem, one swears when he's in charge of watching something. The Shvuas Eidechad, swearing that you don't know Eidus, and the Shvuas Moedib Mixas. So Moedib Mixas means you agree to a part of the Shvuas. Let's say the guy claims $100, you say 50, and there's another claim on Karka. You would not be able to go ahead and swear in the Karka, but since you swear on the Moedib Mixas on the money, you will be able to schlep in Karka. How do we know that? You're telling me you know it from Sota. Sota is a din of Issa V'Heta. Is she mutter to a husband or not mutter to a husband? How do you know what? Mammon, dine mammon is. Says the Gemara, Tana Baby Shmuel, they learned to the Yeshira Bishmuel, Kal V'chayme. They learned to follow in Kal V'chayme. Shlei nitna lehtva be'edachad, umas Saita, a Saita. Shlei nitva lehtva be'edachad. We know the beginning of the Saita, right? That a Saita, you need 2 Eidim that says she was machloikis, but we say 2 Eidim that she was behind closed doors. But it doesn't, one aid does nothing. Megalgan, you do gilgul that. Mammon, when it comes to money, shenitin litova be'edechad. Be'edechad says that you owe this person money, that you cleave to swear keneged that edechad, right? So in other words, money, we see that it's even more severe. So ein idin is not a kal v'chaymer shemegalgan, that you go ahead and have gilgul shua. And that stays. Madach Saita, which you need 2 Eidim, not one. There's a din of Gilgul Shua, moment where one Eid Echad could facilitate a Shua, and you know that you can megalgal a Shua, and that Kal V'chayim stays. Now Ashlim B'Vadai, that you find Vadai, usually you're only going to swear a moment where you have a taina of a Vadai. In other words, you say 100, I say 50. That's not a suffix, it's a vada. You know, I'm swearing vada that I only owe you 50. What about a suffix? Let's say you have 2 shitfin, 2 partners, and one guy is chayshid the other fellow for what? For doing some hanky-panky stuff in business. You can't make him swear. Masha'inkin, if there's an other shvua, then you could be megalgal on that partnership, you could be megalgal a shvua. So how do you know by suffix you could do that? Now, obviously, you might have said 1 second, Saita, the whole Saita is a suffix, right? So Rashi has the kasha, because Saita, the whole parsha is a suffix. Over here, the question is one of them has to be a vadai. You know, vadai, one partner says to the other partner, you know what, you borrowed $100 from the business. The other guy says, I only borrowed $50 from the business. So therefore, that's a vadai. How do you know that if there's other stuff that he's choshid for, how do you can be megalgal that? By Saita, the whole kit and caboodle is a suffix. Over here, it's a vada, it's a vada and a suffix. So how do you know that would work? It says Tanya, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai Omer, Nemer Shua b'chutz. And this says Shua outside by all dinei maminis, outside the Beis Hamikdash. Nemer Shua b'fnim, the Saita that is sworn in the Beis Hamikdash. Mashvu amur b'fnim asa b'suffix kavadai. Just like the Shua that was done inside. We make a suffix vadai. We're saying that you're gonna, even though it's a suffix, we'll treat it as a vadai and you'll swear. Okay, so that is now the machlokes is that How does that work? Okay, we have a mahalach. Now, says is that work mitoris gezer shava shvua, or does it work memetzino? Or does it work memetzino? Right. Says that seems to be machloikas between Taisus and other Rishonim. That Taisus seems to say that what it's the memetzino, and other Rishonim say it's gezer shava. Ad heichen gilgul shvua. To what extent? To how far will we take what? Gilgul shvua. Ad heichen gilgul shvua. Then you make a person swear to Gilgul Shvua. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Yehuda Amarav, the Amalei, Hishabali Shein Avdiata. Make a sure that you're not my Yevid. Now it means like you're not my Yevid Kanani. The guy's a Jew, so you're calling a Jew an Yevid Kanani. Swear that you're not my Yevid Kanani. You'll be Megalgul Shvua on that. 1 second. If a person goes ahead and calls another person an Eved, forget about a Shvua, you put the guy in Cherem. The Tanya, Hakoyer L'Chaveru Eved. If a person calls his Chaver an Eved, yeah, binidoy. He's going to be put in chayrim. Mamzer, a person calls his fellow a mamzer. Sleifikas aboyim. He's going to get 40 malchus minders. Russia, if a person calls a person a Russia, yoredim lechayev. Rashi says you can hate the guy. Also you can cause him a monetary loss. You can lechayev. So it can't be that's the case. Interesting choices we'll see in a second. So Ella Amarav, what's the case of Gilgul Shua? Swear to me that you were not sold to me as an Eved Ivri. In other words, he's not calling him an Eved Kanani. He's not he's saying an Eved Ivri, which was again a full-fledged Jew. Swear to me that what you weren't sold to me as an Eved Ivri. That's not a Gilgul Shvua. You could swear in that directly. Gilgul Shvua is where I can't swear. If you tell the person you're an Eved Ivri, and Eved Ivri is a DNA mominus, because the Havamina is ein gufay kanoi, it's just a monistic din. You don't need Gilgul Shvua. It could be direct. The Shvua. In other words, you don't have to throw it in the Galgul Shvua. You directly can swear that you didn't go ahead and be sold to me as an Eved Ivri. Says Rabbi goes according to his reasoning. Dama Rava Eved Ivri gufay kanoi. Like we said earlier on Daf Zion, he's of the opinion that an Eved Ivri needs a star shichra, fellas, right? Why would an Eved Ivri need a star shichra? And Gufa Konoi, Rav is of the opinion that Gufa Konoi, there's some type of acquirement in the body. We said it's not complete because if an Eved Ivri is bought by a Kohen, he does not eat Truma. So he's not Mamish Gufa Konoi like an Eved Kanani who would eat Truma, but there is some type of kinyan in him that would require a Shtar Shikra. So who adin over here, he would be Gufa Konoi. Now, if he's Gufa Gani fellas, then he's Karka. If he's karka, Inish Baran al Karkais. So the only way you're going to go ahead and be able to facilitate a shvua over here would be al yedei gilgul. That would be ad heichen gilgul shvua. I feel if a person says you were sold to me as an Eved Kanani, you're able to go ahead and be megalgal a shvua. Speaking gufa koni hainu karka. So that's karka. So what's the chiddush? That's ad heichen gilgul shvua. You're telling me a chiddush. If you're telling me gufa koni, so he's a shtikarka. We know Einish Boin ala Karkois, and we also know from our Mishnah that if you have a din of metaltalin and a din of karka, you can swear on the metaltalin and be megalgal the karka. So what's the chiddush over here? The Eved Kanani is a piece of karka, so it doesn't seem to be a chiddush over here. So what do you mean like Heichen Gilgal Shua? This is karka. So Madatema karka who of the inshid mazim b'tzina. A person goes ahead, when he sells karka, he sells it quietly. We spoke out yesterday a beautiful place, is correct? Once a person begins to sell his karka, the call goes out that he's in financial problems. He has trouble financially. It'll be trouble for him to get credit and to get a loan. So therefore, when a person sells his karka, he does it clandestinely that people should not know about it. So in Isa the Zav, Hudavdi and Shidim is then Isa the Zavin less the Kala. And therefore, if you sell karka, there's no kol. So therefore, a person will know about it. So you put a shvur on it. Says the Gemara, hi, but this one, meaning the sale of a person as a eved, in Isa the Zavin, if he was taka sold, kola islay, there was a coil. So I would think if there's a coil, you wouldn't swear. Kamash Malon, that at Heichen Gilgul Shua, even in a situation where you think that it would be public knowledge that he was sold, and therefore it's unnecessary to make a shua, Kemashman on Heichen Gilgul Shua, even in a case where you would think it's public knowledge that he was sold as an Eved Ivri, and the knowledge is not there, you would think you don't swear. Kemashman that you do swear. Okay, going back over, if you call a person a Evet Knani, you get Chayrim. If you call him a Mamzer, you get Malkus Mardis. And if you go ahead and call him a Rasha, you're already more L'chayav. Look at the Taisus, the third Taisus down. Hakoire, Chavero Eved, Yehe Benidoi. Mikam Medagdak Rabbeinu Tam, the Chol Heicha the Ama Ki Agavna, Ki Ahid Dinadorim, Ki Ahid Dinadorim, Bishomeya Askor Mipi Chaveroi, Hayachayvin Doisloi. V'mloini duhu hu atzma yehe benidoi, right? Lo sheyehe memela al bezdin yechayvin doisoi kidama hachi shemuti mishatrin olei. V'hainu mida keneged mida kloimar. Who called the chaveru Eved? He called his friend an Eved to Oror Canaan. Eved avodim yil le'achav. It says in Parshas Noach, kach mekal onaisai ba'oror. So therefore we go ahead mida keneged mida and we curse him ba'oror, put him in nidoi. V'hainu nidoi. V'chein hakar lechaveru mamzer, who oimer shechaveri kvar balav, right? Lefikach seifikas abayim kitin oiver b'lav. So therefore, it seems to be like Taisus is learning. It's an inyan of what of mida keneged mida. It's an inyan of mida keneged mida. I saw something else. Give me 1 second. I have here a marit. Yes. You're over by calling a person a mamzer, so you get malchus. So let's say you would tell a person you ate chaylev, would you get malchus? No, it's a lav. So you call him it's a lav. So why would you get malchus for that particular lav? Calling him a mamzer, like just because it's a lav, you're going to get malchus. Then any other time you tell a person that you're over a lav, you should get malchus, like eating chaylev. So he wants to tie to the marit. You're over like selich rochel ba'amecha. A Rachel should not go ba'amecha. Like calling a person a mamzer is a lashon of Rachel, a peddler. You know, you go around people. There's what we call the issue of bechilis. People go around and talk. So therefore, it's mashma that the lav is coming not because stam you're over on a lav. You're over on the particular lav of you misusing your dibur, calling like a Rachel talk. So you when call him a mamzer. And why,
this isn't the leisure. It's not allowed shame by Maisa.
Not it's makas mardis. Meya, it's makas mardis. Yes. It's makas Rabbanan.
Okay.
Makas Rabbanan. You would. It is in a chinami. It's not the rice of the malchus, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's lav shem b'maisa. It's not a malchus. It's a lav shem b'maisa. So you're getting malchus because of what, or because of it's makas mardis. It's a very good point. Now, so when you call a person an eved, right, we're going to put him in nidoi, right? So why is that not a lav selech rachel b'amcha, fellas? Look, guys, what's the difference between misusing a dibur and calling him a mamzer and using a dibur and calling him an eved, correct? So the Marit says, nidui is worse than malchus. So it's then a come with the Rabbi. If you bout the eved, you're going to get nidui, then you're not going to get malchus for what? For the lav. So there'll be a din of the Aries with come with the Rabbi, right? That's his favorite song, right? So therefore, very, very good shmak. Okay, the next Mishnah is an interesting Mishnah. I just have to get the pasuk that describes this is Rus. Pasuk is Rus. Let me just get a Megillus Rus. Hang on a second. Let me get a Megillus Rus. Okay, this Mishnah is describing what we call, at least according to Pshatim, Kinyan Chalipin. We met earlier in the Masechta. We said that a woman is not nikta b'chalipin because chalipin can be even facilitated with a kli that's less than a shava pruta, and a woman will not be makna herself for less than a shava pruta. We met that's where we met chalipin. We had a shaila about an eved. Can an eved be nikta b'chalipin? Right. So therefore, where is the source for chalipin? So in the Perik Dalid in Megillus Rus, we have a kinyan taking place to acquire the fields of machlin. This is what was done in Yisrael. Al geula v'ala tamura l'kayim kol davar. In order that the timekayim kol davar, sholaf ish naloi, the person would take off his shoe. V'nasan l'rei'ehu. V'zois hatu to be Yisrael. Right, and this was what? This was this is the way it was done in Yisrael. Okay. He He said, and so Boaz took off his shoe. Boaz is the lokeach. He's getting the field from the closer relative Ploni Almoni, and through a kinyan chalipin, you're being kind of the field. This is the source of chalipin. Now, chalipin, if you notice, it was done with a shoe. Rabbi Weissman says it was a glove. Right? It's kind of funny to take off a shoe. Rabbi Weissman holds it was a glove. Either way, you're taking a kli, something that has a din of a kli, and using that to facilitate what? To facilitate a kinyan. So, to that extent, do you need a kli for chalipin? Or no? Could you do chalipin with other things? So, for example, could you do chalipin with a matbeya, with a coin? Not mitoras kesef, but mitoras matbeya. So you take a quarter, and you could be kind of a field that's worth $1 million. You know, okay, here you pick it up, and Lekech picks it up, and now he's got his quarter. He gives it to the Meicher, and Meicher picks it up, and therefore now the field is given over to him. It's obviously the quarter is not being used for its value; it's being used, in fact, to facilitate this kinyan. And the answer is that chalipin cannot be done with matbeya. So this is the main sugi is in the fourth parak of Bava Metzia called Azav. And the reason is because when a person uses a coin, his das is on the picture on the coin, the tsura on the coin, rather than the coin itself. So since his das is on the tsura, you can't use a coin. What about peiris? Can I use shava kesef? Can I use something that is not a kli, but it has a din of shava peiris? Can I use fruit or anything similar to fruit? Shava kesef. That's also machlokes, whether you need a kli dafka, right? That's also machlokes. And that's the discussion of this Mishnah. So again, kinyan chalipin, you take an object, pick up that object, and by picking up that object, you're facilitating that now it's going from the rishus of the meicha to the rishus of the lekeach. The kli was lekeach's kli, and the meicha would pick it up. Okay, that was that's the way it works. This Mishnah is ambiguous in nature. In the Havamina, the first case it's speaking about matbeya. In the second case, it's speaking about pri, and the third final case, we're speaking not about kinyan chalipin at all. So we're going to three pshatim in the Mishnah. The first case is going to be speaking about matbeya. The second case is going to be speaking about pri, and the third case is not going to be speaking about kinyan chalipin at all. It's going to be something that's similar to kesef. So listen to this vague lashon of the Mishnah. Kol anaseh domim ba'acher. Anything used as a payment for something else. Kol anaseh domim ba'acher. Anything that can be used as a payment for something else. So what would you have Amina be, fellas? Money, right, guys? You have Amina be money. Kimin she zocha, since this person is zocha in this matbeya, this chayis zeh b'chalifav, he will be chayiv in an exchange. So in the Havamina, a person gives a person a quarter, and he gets whatever he gets. That's certainly worth more than a quarter. Again, it's not working mitaras kesef. It's working mitaras chalipin. Now that would be a good shot till you get to the case. Ketzad. So what should it say? It should say Hayya matbeya, right? It doesn't say that. Ketzad hichliv shar b'par. You're going ahead. You're selling the person a shar for his para. So what happens? Aychamar b'shar, or a donkey for a shar. Kimish zeh. Once this person, the lekeach, is zeicha in the meicher is zeicha in the lekeach's shar or chamar, then is chayiv zeh the other person is chayiv. So if anything would happen to the object, it would be in the shus of the lekeach. He would take the loss. It's his already. He didn't do a kinyan yet on it. But since the meicher did a kinyan on his object, whatever he was buying from the meicher, or right, that already is considered in his rishus. Okay, it's a very cryptic Mishnah because the way we explained it, the Reisha and the Sefer did not coincide. The Reisha is speaking about cash, money, a coin, not cash, a coin, and an example they give is speaking about an animal. It says I'm a chalip in my new, right? When it says chalip in my new, it's matbeya. So kol anois adamim be'echad kimin shezach hazeh and describes there b'chalifav. The havamina is what? Is matbeya. Says Rashi, my new matbeya, shu anitim b'damim. That's something that's used as a payment for something else. Ba'acher mikol makom. It's universal. Bashmina masnisan the afagav the b'toyres damim kaimelon leikana. Even though we know that kesef doesn't work by metaltalin because you were supposed to write this down. Shema nisfu chitra ba'aliyah. That's why kesef doesn't work. Yeah. Ki avin lebetoris chalipin. If you don't use the coin as value, you're using the coin as a shoe, guys. You'll view the coin as a shoe, right? You're viewing it as using it as a shoe. Yes, you're using it as we're speaking. It would work. And Shema Mino, we'd hear from here that what matbei nasa chalipin, which is a problem because va'anon kaimel and perikazov the aim matbei nasa chalipin. So we have a problem. If the pshat in the Mishnah is kol anas and domim ba'achim means matbeya, right? And you're saying matbeya could work mitaris chalipin, not mitaris domim, then we have a problem. It says the Gemara, Amrav Yehuda Hachi Kamar. Don't read it as what? As something that is used for a payment for something else. Read it as kol hanisham b'domim. Anything that needs to be evaluated for its value. You have a $10 bill, guys. You have to evaluate for its value. It's $10. You have a $100 bill. You don't have to evaluate it. It's $100. You have a pen. You want to go ahead and use the pen, right? You got to evaluate what the pen is worth. In other words, it's not speaking about cash. It's not speaking about matbeya. I keep on saying cash. It's not. We thought it's speaking about matbeya, but it can't be. It can't be because matbeya doesn't do chalipin, and secondly, the case of the Gemara that it gives, of the Mishnah gives, does not shtim with the havmin of the Gemara. So very geschmack. Says the Gemara, it doesn't mean anything that naseh domim, anything that's used for a payment. It means anything that needs to be evaluated, anything that's needed to be evaluated before being used. But in matbeya, you know what's being evaluated. So kol anishim domim ba'acher amid beis, anything that is valued ba'acher, kimen shezocher zeh nischayv b'chalifin. Right? Says Rashi, im nasle b'toris chalipin. If you give that thing that has to be evaluated, if you give it mitoris chalipin, niknu chalifav. It's the thing that is being acquired by the lekeach is acquired. The meshicha shemashach baal hamekach hazeh. The meshicha that the baal is mashach this particular item. Bashminon the toris chalipin b'metaltalin, that there's such a din as chalipin by metaltalin. Ulemeimar the afagav the lesnu kli, even though it's not a kli like the shoe of Boaz, elemetaltalin ba'alma. It's just something that's movable. Havi chalipin, it does facilitate the chalipin. It's not common to tell matbeya. So very geschmack. We brought in the pasuk from Rus. If it's very literal, the only thing that could go ahead and make a kinyan would be what? Would be a kli. We're saying over here, no. You're not limited to a kli. Anything that would require an evaluation could be used as chalipin. This would exclude what? Matbeya, because matbeya does not need an evaluation. We know what it's worth, right? But it would include anything, even something that's not a kli, similar to the null of Boaz. Beautiful chiddush. That's the way to now. Dekanami, it's meduyik also that's the pshat. It could be matbeya as the pshat, because again, the Mishnah didn't flow well. Ketzad, hichlev shor beparo echamav b'shor, shmamina is very good that it's not speaking about matbeya, it's speaking about how much is that shor worth, how much is that chamor worth, right? You have to evaluate it. That's good.
Was Ploni Almoni doing chalitza also at that moment?
No.
That was just a
No, this was a kinyan. It wasn't chalitza. This was a kinyan. It wasn't chalitza. Yeah.
But those days, the coins had to be evaluated, no? Because they used to rub out anyways.
I think that I'm not sure that it had to be evaluated in terms of it. It had a worth. Now, sometimes if you go after the weight, right? But again, intrinsically, it had a value. If you have a quarter, right? If you have a quarter, there are quarters that are rubbed out over time. But in other words, if you were buying silver, then you'd have to go ahead and see, weigh it and see how much silver is in this coin. But used as a coin, I don't think it had to be evaluated. I don't think so. I think again, matbeya we're going to see. There's different dinim in matbeya. We're going to see really it's a sugin azov. Okay, but I think that's what it means. That matbeya certainly doesn't need an evaluation. It's not shava kesef. It's not shava kesef, right? Pruta is echad 1/8 of a shmeina of a altiki. I mean, sometimes it gets rubbed out. No, there's like an intrinsic value. It's an eighth of this, right? If you want to know the silver value, you have to weigh it. But I think to be used as a coin, it doesn't have to be evaluated. Now, so what's the meduyik is also, guys, it's very meduyik as well, right? It's meduyik as well that the example that they give is something that's shava kesef. In other words, an animal, which you're going to have to evaluate versus one matbeya, which you wouldn't fit in at all. So again, just to reiterate, the Mishnah says anything that could go ahead and has done, it says anything that could be used for damim, it facilitates chalipin. The half a meaning was what? It was mamish kesef. We're saying no, matbeya can't make kesef. So it means anything that has to be a nishum and has to be evaluated for its value could be used. It's such a and the chiddush is it doesn't have to be a kli, which is what you would think since you learned from Boaz, and Boaz used the kli. It doesn't have to be that. Fred Gemara ulamai the solka adaita meikara the matbeya nasa chalipin ma ketzad. In other words, forget the matbeya can't do chalipin. Okay, the Gemara says in Hazov you can't use it. Let's say you didn't have that Gemara. Read the Mishnah. What's the case of the Mishnah? Let's look back to the Mishnah here. It says the Mishnah, Kol anasim domim ba'achad a matbeya, which you can go ahead and use for commerce. Kimin shezacha zeh, since the meicher is zeicha in the money, nischayev zeh b'chalifa, the leikeach is chayev in whatever the meicher is selling him. Ketzad hichlef shavu para. How do you read that? In other words, how could you have had that havamina when it says Ketzad shavu para? In other words, it doesn't mention matbeya at all. It doesn't mention matbeya at all, so it would be problematic. What was the havamina that was matbeya? The Mishnah is screaming out at you. You can't have that havamina because the example does not mention matbeya at all. So the Gemara asks right away. Fred the Gemara, ulamai b'sal kedaitach meikori the matbeya nasa chalipin my ketzad. Says Hochi Kama, peiros nami avei chalipin. Not the chiddush is a multiple chiddush. Not only matbeya, but peiros also could go ahead and facilitate chalipin. What is peiros? Rashi, kol midi d'leihavi kli peri korile le'inin chalipin. Anything that's not a kli is called peiros le'inin chalipin. But mishum de peri shvichi naket peri, and because peiros are common, they call it peri. So peri means as opposed to what? As opposed to kli. As opposed to kli. So now, the havamina was not only matbeya, but a pri. Anything that's not, again, we want to go ahead and say not a shoe. We want to say not a shoe. Anything that's not a kli is called pri. It could be a matbeya, it could be shava kesef. So then we just explained shava kesef. Ketzad hachi kama. Peiros nam li'av dechalipin ketzad. Hichlif basa b'sar shar. Now notice we switched. We added a word. You machliv the meat of the shar b'para, like b'sar chamar, or the meat of a chamar of the shar. Why did you go ahead and switch to meat? If you look at Rashi, b'sar shar, the kolshkin shar chai, and certainly a live shar. The other tfei, which is worth more. The dami lekli shemishnam shembai. In other words, if our starting point is a shoe, what's more comparable to a shoe? A live shar or a dead shar? And the answer is a live shar, because just like you can put on a shoe, you have his shamshus, you have use from the shar, from the shoe. Who adin a live shar, you have a shamshus from it. It's more similar to a kli than just the ability to eat it, correct? So therefore, it opted. So Rashi says a chiddush besar, even though it's less similar to what? To a shoe. It's less similar to a shoe, but kolsh came a live shar. So don't get locked into when the Gemara says besar, but a live shar not. Besar, yes, the kolsh came a live shar, which is similar to a shoe of Boaz. So therefore, very good. So hichlek besar shar b'para besar chamar b'shar kim shesach zen chemech leber. Okay, so now, what have we proven? We've proven that A, matbeya doesn't do chalipin. B, you don't need a kli. Why? Because you could use something that's called peri. What's peri? Peri is anything that's not a kli, such as a live shar, and not even a live shar, even an edible shar, even a shar that was geshachten that you could eat. That's very good to Rav Sheshes, who says Peiris can go ahead and facilitate Chalipin. Elo Rav Nachman, this is all in Perikazov, guys. Elo Rav Nachman, Peiris Le'avi Chalipin, that it's not, you need something similar to a Kli, my Ikalamema, what are you going to say? So, according to Rav Nachman, neither a Matbeya nor a Pri can accomplish Chalipin. Neither Pri or I said a Peri. Neither a Matbeya, I'm sorry, I'm mixing you up. Neither a Matbeya nor a Pri can accomplish Chalipin, because Rav Nachman holds you need similar to a shoe. Guys, once you start with the shoe, everything makes a lot of sense, right? Once you're starting with the shoe, how much do we get away from the shoe? Everyone agrees Matbeya is out. What about a Pri? That we have machlokes. Says Rav Sheshes, Pri is good. Says Rav Nachman, Pri is not good. So Rav Nachman, I don't have a Matbeya, I don't have a Pri. What do I have? I just have a Kli. But 1 second. So how do you explain Para v'Chamor? What's going on over there? How are you going to explain that? Right? So there's the Gemara. So Hachi Kamar. Yesh domim shehin kechalipin. It's not telling us a din of chalipin at all, guys. It's telling us another din. Okay, eye contact outside. Ruvain sells a cow to Shimon. Shimon does Mashicha, and he doesn't give any money to Ruvain yet. It was worth $1,000. So now Shimon owes Ruvain $1,000. Ruvain sees this prize goat by Shimon and says, Shimon, how much do you want for that goat? And Shimon says, this is a thoroughbred goat, I want $1,000. Says Ruvain, I'll tell you what, no problem. The money that you owe me for the animal that you bought from me, I'm giving you now for this. So this is not Chalipin, guys. This is not Chalipin. This is domim similar to Chalipin, because it's similar to Chalipin that you didn't give him anything. But it's working mitaris kesef. It's working like cash. But you're not giving him actual cash. You're giving him a choiv. You owed you money. With that demay that he owes, you're buying. So that's the Kiddush of the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, according to Rav Nachman, here's the way you read the Mishnah. Right. Hachi kamar. Yesh domim shein kechalipin. Yes, domim that is like chalipin. So therefore, you look back at the Mishnah, guys. Kol anasa domim be'echad. Anything that is done domim by somebody else, meaning, right? Meaning that you have value by the other guy because he owes you money for some transaction, that can go ahead and you were able to go ahead and make a switcheroo, even though it's not a chinyan chalipin, because chalipin is symbolic more in nature. This is mamish value. It's the may. It's $1,000. You hear the difference, guys. If your kli is worth less than a shavar pruta, it facilitates the kinyan. Over here, it's not that way. It's similar to chalipin that the guy is not. You're not giving him anything, but it's the may. It's dava shava b'shava. You're paying $1,000 for that goat because he owed you $1,000. That's pshat in the Mishnah. So that's the pshat like Rav Nachman in this Mishnah. So far we've had. Okay, let's go through. Let's finish and then we'll make a review. So, yesh domim shein kechalipin ketzad. If you go ahead and you switch the worth of the may shar for a para, you owe me what money for the shar that I sold you. I'm buying a para. I said a goat. I'm buying a para. My timer. Why does this work? Now, guys, this is kesef, isn't it? If I would tell you what kinyan is this called, what would you call it? If you're giving value for something, it's called Chayin Arin Shmiel HaKoyin. It's called cash, right? Chayin Arin Shmiel HaKoyin. This is kesef. But 1 second, I thought kesef was not koina. Now that is up there with this is Shema Nisrach Yitcha Ba'aliyah. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it sure is koina. My timer, Rav Nachman Sabala Rabbi Yochanan. He also like Rabbi Yochanan. Damar Dvar Torah Moyes koinos. Really, when you buy something from somebody, when you give him cash, you acquire it. What's the reason we say Mashiach is koina? I should stop right now and make all of you tell me this. The gezeira that what? You're going to say that my chitim is in his aliyah. Again, we spoke out. I'll say it because this is Daf Yomi and I don't want to lose my share by asking you questions. if you would go ahead, I'd say the following, you buy 1,000 bushels, I got a silo. I say, Dr. Pest is leaving the field of optometry. Dr. Pest decided he wants to be a farmer and he wants to start, growing crops and everything. Point Pleasant is near the farms of Lakewood. He wants to go ahead and get something. So he goes, Laser, I heard you got some good stuff to sell. I said, yeah, good stuff. Okay. Ari, not that stuff. Yeah, good stuff to sell. You're going to plant the stuff and it's in a silo. So Dr. Pest gives me $1,000. Dr. Pest says, I'll pick it up tomorrow. Fire breaks out of my silo. I look out the window. I see the fire and I go back to sleep. Great. Why should I bother? It's not mine. So in order to ensure that I'm going to save Dr. Pest's crop, right? His bumper crop for next year, it's not koina. It's still in my possession till he does Mashiach. Kesef midaraisa should be here. It should be Dr. Pest's, but it's not. It's not. Why? Because of this gezerah. So very good. This gezerah is not shaykh in this case. What did you do over here? You didn't go ahead and use money. You went ahead and used the may, used cash. It's like misle shlichi. You used the chayiv. Listen, I sold you something. You owe me something. I'm buying something from you. This is all misle shlichi. Therefore, it works. Even though kesef doesn't work midrabanan, here it would work. So, my tam amu mishicha koina gezerah shem yamu nisru chitra ba'aliyah. Milsa the shlichi, something that's shaykh that Dr. Press's stuff should burn down because I didn't bother saving it. That's gazru b'rabanan. Therefore, the kinyan is not ended. Milsa l'shchichi loy gazru rabbanon, and this is a milsa l'shchichi that you should buy something from somebody. You should owe you money, and then you buy something from him. Good. Now there is a bar plukta to Rav Yochanan. There is a bar plukta to Rav Yochanan. Who's that bar plukta? That's Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish always argues Rav Yochanan. Well, Reish Lakish kama mishicha mefureshes min haTorah v'chi simchu mimchu lamisecha koina miyad lamisecha daba nichna miyad liyad, and kesef does not work. That Mashiach does work midaraisa. Now, how is he going to learn Pshat in Mishnah? How is he going to learn Pshat in Mishnah? Isa v'lak Rav Sheshes the Ama Peris of the Chalipin Mitaritz Rav Sheshes. He'll answer up the Mishnah like Rav Sheshes. Elisa v'lak Rav Nachman the Ama Peris le'Abdi Chalipin. He's going to hold like Rav Nachman that Peris can't make Chalipin. U'matbeya loy koina, and the first Pshat matbeya is not koina, but my mukila. Guys, we have 3 Pshat in the Mishnah. Matbeya, Peris, the May. If Bishlema like Rabbi Yochanan comes out good, Rabbi Nachman holds like Rabbi Yochanan, and therefore it's speaking Demei. It can't be speaking Matbeya because Matbeya doesn't work. It can't be speaking by Peris because this is Rabbi Nachman who says Peris don't work. So I have a third shot in my Mishnah. It's speaking about Demei where you sold him and he had a chayv. But like Reish Lakish who says that Moyes is not kaina. So let's look at our Mishnah. Can it be Matbeya? No. If he holds like Rabbi Nachman, can it be Peris? No. Can it be Demei? No. Right? So what could it be? You got stuck. So doesn't know Al Kochak Rav Sheshes really. You have to say Rav Reish Lakish holds like Rav Sheshes. He holds like Rav Sheshes. Okay, so let's go back to the Mishnah. Go back to our ambiguous Mishnah, which is going to come to light right now. 3 pshatim. Kol anase domim ba'achar. Anything that's used as payment for something else, such as what? Such as matbeya. Since the person is zoicha in this, he's zoicha in this, right? Ketzad, right? Meaning, if it's speaking of a matbeya, what would it be? Not only would it be matbeya, but it could also be anything that's not a kli. That's the Kiddush. Anything's not a kli. So in Iyadat, matbeya would work, and anything that is a kli, and anything that's not a kli, that's a peri would work. What's an example? Ketzad, he gives an example of Peris. Now we go ahead and upshlug and say no one holds matbeya. So what's pshat? Kol hanase domim ba'achar does not mean matbeya. Kol ha hanisham domim ba'achar. Anything that has to be evaluated. What's evaluated, fellas? A peri, something that's shavah kesef. That's the first thing in the Mishnah. Now, according to Rav Nachman, who says Peris doesn't work and matbeya doesn't work, so it's got to be what? What has to have to be? It has to be. So you had matbeya, that you had the peri, and now we're going to have demei. The case of ko hanasim demei. Anything that becomes a value, meaning that the loikeach owes something to the moicher. Since this person was zoicha and the chayiv is bechalifav, he's chayiv in not that it's the kinyan chalipin, but it's similar to chalipin. What's it similar? Just like chalipin, he's not making a kinyan on it. So too over here, the Meicher who now becomes like Keach. The Meicher who sold a parrot to the guy, and the parrot was worth $1,000, and now he wants to buy a goat $1,000, and he didn't pay him money as $1,000 value over him. That the may now could be go ahead and use to make a purchase. Those are the people shot in the Mishnah. Next Mishnah, Rishus Hagavoya b'Kesef. Now even the Reish Lakish would say that even though Kesef doesn't kind of need Mashiach, but by Gavoya, but by Beis Hamikdash, it would work b'Kesef. Rishus Hahedyet b'Chazaka. Right? Rashi says b'Chazaka means Mashiach. Again, Mashiach was the most common kinyan from Metathlon. Doesn't mean Chazaka. But Kesef, not Chazaka, yes. Amirasel Gavoya, Kimsirasel Lehedyet. Okay, when it says Mashiach by Hedyet, guys, Leit Reish Lakish deraisa, Leit Rabbi Yochanan derabanan, correct? Again, you hear? Leit Rabbi Yochanan derabanan, because he also Kesef works with deraisa. Mashiach is derabanan. Leit Reish Lakish ki simchrim cham b'secha would be a din deraisa. And Amirasel Lehedyet, Amirasel Gavoya Kimsirasel Lehedyet. Once you say something that's Hegdish, automatically is Hegdish. Once you say something automatically is Hegdish, even without a kinyan, it's Hegdish. Amira makes it Hegdish. I spoke this out in the past. There's a Gavaldika, I think it's a Chesku Sabatim. I'm not sure if I remember correctly. There's a Ramban that says, you know how it works? Listen to this, guys. I mean, Russell Gavoy, if you say something's Hegdish, automatically it comes Hegdish. How is it? Where's the kinyan? Hashem Oretz Maloya. Hashem owns the whole world. It's a kinyan Chatzar. Ramban says, Hashem Oretz Maloya. Hashem owns the whole world. So when you say something's Hegdish, wherever it is, it belongs to Hashem. It works out as kinyan Chatzar. Geshmak b'shad. Okay, says the Gemara by Tonabana. Ketzad, how do we go ahead and Ketzad Rishus Hagavoya kind of a kesef? How is Rishus Hagavoya kind of a kesef? The gizbar of Hegdish Nasan Mois the Behema. He gives money for an animal. Afilu Behema b'Sleifa Oila. Even if the animal is the end of the world and he didn't do Mashiach on it, right? Kana. He's kind of the animal. Kesef, again, fellas, Kesef is what, Bisman Hazeh, we hold, once you give Kesef, the deal's done. You hold, you own it. You own it, you give Kesef, you own it. You don't need to have to do Mashiach on it till you own it. You own it. That's the way it works by what? By Hegdish. If Hegdish gives money, no matter where the animal is, and you didn't do Mashiach on the animal, automatically it belongs to Hegdish. Behedyed like kana acha yimshach. Behedyed, you want to acquire it, even though you gave kesef, you want to acquire it until you do mashicha, right? Because this is like Rabbi Yochanan who says that midaraisa kesef is kaina, and you need to go ahead and do mashicha, right? According to Reish Lakish, also Reish Lakish says it's not the kesef that works, it's mashicha that works. So you have to do mashicha, either one. Ketzad amirasel legavoy kesirasel lehedyed. What would an example be of saying something and it automatically goes to hedyed? You say this shor should be an oila, or by zeh hegdish, afilu b'seifa oilam, even wherever the animal is, wherever the house is, kana, you be kana. Behedyet like kana. Behedyet you won't be kana on the aleph. Behedyet you won't be kana at shiyim shoich till you do mashiach on the shor. The yachzik or till you do chazak on the house. Bias is karka is nicknamed chazaka. Okay, moshech b'mana. Let's say what the hedyet went ahead. And he pulls him when it's a mana. Like his piklif doisai, the hedyet is magdish the chayfetz, right? He's magdish the chayfetz, and now he wants to be poida. When he was magdish the chayfetz, it was worth $100. Like his piklif doisai, adsha amad b'misayim, and before he got a chance to redeem it, it went up. It skyrocketed to double its value to misayim. How much does he give? Does he give 100 at the time of the hegdish? Or 200 at the time of the Padiyah? Says Gemara, Noisim Masayim. He gives what? 200. My timer. What's the reason he gives a higher amount? It says V'nosam HaKesef v'kamloi. Right? Everything is totally when he gives the Kesef. And now he's giving the Kesef right when it's worth 200. So he has to give 200. That's the first case. What about this case? Moshcha b'Masayim. He was moshach the animal when it was worth 200. But he speaks of Doisei Adsha Omad b'Mana, and it devaluated to 100. Well, how much would he give? Nice Messiah. He still gives 200. I v'nasan kesef v'komloi. No, we have another pasuk. My time. What's the reason? Lo yehi koyach hedyet chama mehegdish. The koyach of hedyet should not be chama mehegdish. So a person who goes ahead and is kind of a chavetz b'mashicha, and he pays the value, right? When he did it, it went down in his rishus. So it's not right that what the koyach of the gadol should be koyach the hegdish. So in the case, fellas, where a person would go ahead and he would be magdis something, and at the time of his magdis was worth 200, and time he came to pay up it was 100. So, but he would pay up 100. So it's just so hegdish shouldn't be worse. So since he would give the amount of, one second. No. Mashcha ben Messiah, when he was mashach, the animal was Messiah, and what's the case? And he didn't pay up. How much would he pay up? By his Messiah. In other words, even though it went down in price, you made the kinyan already. You did the Mashiach. Once you did the Mashiach, it was 200. You have to pay 200. So hegdish also. Hegdish can't be worse. So you're always going to pay the higher amount, even though when you did the pediyah, it should be worth 100. Nonetheless, since by hedyet you go after this amount of Mashiach, and the Mashiach was worth the higher amount, who I did by hegdish, it should be worse. It's the higher amount. It doesn't make a difference. We won't make hegdish worse than hedyet. It should be worse than hedyet. My time. He was paid it for 200, and he didn't get a chance to mashach it till it was worth a mana. Nice the Messiah, he gives 200. My timer, he gave 100. He only gives the mana. So he was paid for a mana. He didn't get a chance to mashach it till it stood to 200. Whatever he redeemed, and he only gives a mana. Why don't you say it should be Muhammad than Hegdish? And Moicha could go back on the deal. The Moicha, if it goes down in price, guys, the Moicha could go back on the deal. So over here, why doesn't he go back on the deal and say, no, I don't want to be paid for that amount? It says, at the head Misha Parakoi. We know of a person, they made a deal with somebody and they agreed on a price. And then they reneged on the price because it went up. So good Alpi Kinyan, he'd be right, but there's a din of Misha Para. Misha Para, Midar Mabel, Midar Midbar, it's a Gemara in Bab Metzia. You get this huge klala. So here also by Hegdish, you would want that to apply. Okay, everyone should have a great day. There's Hashem tomorrow. We're begin a very interesting sugya. One of the most famous sugyas in Shabbos.